What happens when you admit to crossing the line, fully expecting a dramatic confrontation, only for your husband to calmly hand you separation papers instead? How does it feel when the person you thought you could manipulate simply gathers evidence and begins to quietly, legally dismantle your life? Can anyone truly talk their way out once the receipts are laid bare? The front door clicked shut behind me at 2:47 a.m., and I knew Adrian was awake. The living room lamp cast its yellow glow across our hardwood floors, and there he sat in his favorite armchair, still wearing his weekend clothes from 12 hours ago. His dark eyes tracked my movement as I kicked off my heels and smoothed down my black dress. "Hey, baby," I said with my brightest smile, the same one that had charmed him 8 years ago. "Sorry I'm so late. You know how girls' nights go. Time just flies when you're having fun." Adrian didn't return the smile. He sat perfectly still, his engineering mind probably calculating exactly how many hours I'd been gone. "How was the club?" "Oh, it was great. The music was amazing and the drinks were strong." I laughed, hoping to inject some lightness into the heavy atmosphere. Sabine was being her usual crazy self, dragging everyone onto the dance floor. I'm sure she was. His voice carried no emotion, flat as the technical reports he wrote for work. "And Jesse? How was he?" My stomach tightened slightly. Jesse Rowan was our personal trainer, technically, though we'd only had a few sessions together as a couple. Tonight he'd been at the club with his girlfriend Tasha, and yes, we'd danced. But it was harmless, just friendly fun between adults. Jesse was fine. He and Tasha were there with their group. I moved toward the kitchen, needing something to do with my hands. "Want some water? I'm parched." "Kalantha." The way he said my name stopped me cold. "Is there anything you want to tell me?" I turned around slowly, studying his face. Adrian had always been the quiet type, methodical and careful with his words. But there was something different tonight, a stillness that felt dangerous. "Like what?" I kept my voice light, innocent. "It was just dancing, Adrian. You know I love to dance, and you hate clubs. I don't see the problem." "Just dancing." He repeated my words like he was testing how they sounded. "Yes, just dancing. God, you're acting like I committed some terrible crime." I felt my defensive instincts kicking in. I'm allowed to have friends. I'm allowed to go out and have fun. Just because you prefer to sit home reading engineering journals doesn't mean I have to become a hermit. Adrian stood up slowly, his 6-foot frame unfolding from the chair. "I never said you couldn't go out. But you're acting all weird and suspicious like I did something wrong." I crossed my arms, letting irritation creep into my voice. "This is exactly why I don't tell you everything. You turn innocent fun into some big drama." "Innocent fun?" Another repetition, another test of words. My phone buzzed with a text from Sabine. "Hope you made it home okay. Don't let Adrian guilt-trip you. You did nothing wrong. Men just get jealous when their wives have a good time without them." I smiled reading it, feeling validated. Sabine understood. She knew how Adrian could be, controlling and paranoid about my friendships with other men. "Look, I'm tired," I said, heading toward the stairs. "Can we not do this tonight? I had a great time, I'm home safe, and that should be enough." "Kalantha." His voice stopped me again, and this time I heard something that made my skin prickle. "I know." 2 words. Simple, direct, and somehow terrifying. "Know what?" I forced another laugh. "That I danced with people, that I had a few drinks, that I actually enjoyed myself for once." But Adrian just stood there, watching me with those dark eyes, and I realized he wasn't going to elaborate. He was going to make me wonder, make me worry about what exactly he thought he knew. From upstairs came the soft sound of Issa turning over in her bed, and I remembered our 7-year-old daughter was sleeping just down the hall from where we were having this tense conversation. "Fine," I whispered harshly. "Stand there being all mysterious and dramatic. I'm going to bed." As I climbed the stairs, I could feel his eyes on my back. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Sabine. "Remember, you're a grown woman. Don't let him make you feel guilty for having fun. She was right. I was 34 years old, not some teenager who needed permission to go out with friends. So what if I'd danced with Jessie? So what if we'd laughed and had a good time? Adrian was being ridiculous, and I wasn't going to apologize for living my life. But as I reached the top of the stairs, I heard him moving around downstairs, and something about the deliberate nature of his movements made me pause. He wasn't coming to bed. He was settling in for a long night, and that worried me more than I wanted to admit. I changed into my pajamas and brushed my teeth, trying to shake off the uneasy feeling that had settled in my chest. Through the bathroom window, I could see our neighbor's house dark and peaceful. Normal people were sleeping at this hour, not having weird confrontations about innocent nights out. When I finally slipped into our king-size bed, Adrian's side remained empty. I could hear him downstairs, the soft murmur of his voice. He was on the phone with someone at 3 a.m, and that definitely wasn't normal. I strained to listen, but could only catch fragments. Saw the video, and need to think about Issa, and can't keep pretending. Video? What video? My heart started racing as I tried to remember if anyone had been filming at the club. People were always taking pictures and videos these days, posting everything on social media. But surely there was nothing incriminating, just friends having fun on a Saturday night. Before we dive deeper into the story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. My phone lit up with another message, this one from an unknown number. Saw you at Pulse tonight. Looked like you were having a really good time. I deleted it immediately, my hands shaking slightly. Some random person from the club, probably just being friendly. Nothing to worry about. But as I lay there in the dark, listening to my husband's quiet voice drifting up from downstairs, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted tonight. Something fundamental had changed in the careful balance of our marriage, and I wasn't sure how to fix it. The last thing I heard before finally drifting off was Adrian's footsteps on the stairs, slow and measured. He slipped into bed beside me without a word, but I could feel the tension radiating from his body like heat. Tomorrow, I decided, I would make this right. I would explain everything clearly and help him understand that he had nothing to worry about. After 8 years of marriage, surely he knew he could trust me. Sunday brunch at Meridian's was supposed to be our weekly family tradition. A chance to catch up with both sides of the family over mimosas and eggs Benedict. But as we walked into the restaurant at 11 a.m., I could feel the tension crackling between Adrian and me, like electricity before a storm. Issa skipped ahead in her yellow sundress, excited to see her grandmother Miriam, while Adrian and I followed in silence. He'd barely spoken to me all morning, just nodded when I asked if he was ready to go. "There's my beautiful granddaughter." Miriam Price stood up from our usual corner table, her silver hair perfectly styled despite the early hour. At 61, she maintained the sharp elegance of the corporate lawyer she'd been before retirement. Sabine was already there too, looking effortlessly chic in a white blazer and designer jeans. My younger sister had always been the fashionable one, the one who made everything look easy. "Kalantha, you look amazing." Sabine air-kissed my cheeks. "That dress is perfect on you." I'd chosen my outfit carefully, a navy blue wrap dress that was conservative enough for family brunch, but still showed I had nothing to hide. "Thanks, babe. You look gorgeous as always." But as we settled into our seats, I noticed the way Miriam's eyes lingered on me, assessing and cool. She'd never been my biggest fan, though she'd always been polite for Adrian's sake. "So," Sabine said, diving right in as she always did, "I heard you girls had quite the night out yesterday. I'm so jealous I missed it." "It was fun," I said carefully, aware of Adrian's silence beside me. "Just dancing and catching up with friends." "Dancing, Miriam's voice carried a note I couldn't quite identify. "At Pulse, wasn't it?" My stomach dropped. How did she know which club we'd been to? "Yes, that's right. Have you been there? I tried to keep my tone light and conversational. Oh no, dear, not my scene at all. Miriam smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I just heard it can get quite energetic there. Sabine jumped in to defend me. There's nothing wrong with a little dancing. Kalantha deserves to have fun. She works hard all week managing that call center. Of course she does, Miriam agreed smoothly. I just think it's important for married people to be mindful of appearances. Appearances? I felt my defensive instincts flaring. What's that supposed to mean? Before Miriam could answer, I heard a familiar voice behind me. Well, if it isn't the dancing queen herself. I turned to see Tasha Lynn approaching our table, her black hair pulled back in a severe ponytail, and her dark eyes flashing with something that looked like anger. Jessie's girlfriend was petite but fierce, and right now she looked ready for a fight. Tasha, I said carefully, I didn't know you came here for brunch. Jessie and I were just leaving, she said, but she didn't move away from our table. Funny thing happened this morning. Someone tagged me in a video from last night. Very interesting viewing. My blood turned to ice. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I think you do. Tasha's smile was sharp as a blade. Amazing how the camera picks up things the naked eye might miss. Like hands wandering where they shouldn't. Like married women forgetting they're married. Excuse me. Sabine stood up, her protective instincts kicking in. Who do you think you are, coming to our family table and making accusations? I'm the girlfriend of the man your sister was all over last night, Tasha shot back. I'm the one who had to watch that pathetic display of desperation while everyone else pretended it was normal. That's enough. Adrian's voice cut through the tension like a knife. He'd been silent for so long that everyone turned to stare at him. This is a family restaurant. Let's keep it civil. But Tasha wasn't finished. She leaned down close to my ear and whispered, You think you're so clever, don't you? Playing the innocent wife while throwing yourself at other women's men. But everyone saw Kalantha. Everyone knows what kind of person you really are. She straightened up and walked away, leaving our table in stunned silence. Other diners were staring now, and I could feel my face burning with embarrassment. What was that about? My mother Judith asked, arriving at our table just in time to witness the confrontation. At 57, she still had the gentle demeanor of the elementary school teacher she'd been for 30 years. Just some drama, Sabine said dismissively. You know how jealous women can be when they see someone having fun. But I could see the doubt creeping into my mother's eyes, the way she glanced between Adrian and me. And Miriam was watching everything with the sharp attention of someone gathering evidence. Maybe we should order, I suggested desperately. I'm starving. But before anyone could respond, my phone buzzed with a notification, then another, then a flood of them, all at once. I looked down to see my Instagram lighting up with tags and comments. Someone had posted a video from last night, and people were sharing it, commenting on it, dissecting every frame. With trembling hands, I opened the video. It was grainy and dark, clearly shot on someone's phone from across the club. But there I was, unmistakably, dancing with Jessie. And Tasha was right. The camera had caught things I'd forgotten about. The way his hands lingered on my waist. The way I'd leaned into him during slow songs. The moment I'd whispered something in his ear, and he'd laughed, pulling me closer. It looked bad. Really bad. Oh my God, I whispered, staring at the screen. What is it? Sabine asked, but I couldn't answer. I was reading the comments, each one like a knife to the chest. Isn't she married? Poor husband, someone should tell him. Homewrecker alert. This is why I don't trust married women at clubs. Kalantha? My mother's voice seemed to come from very far away. Honey, what's wrong? I looked up to find everyone staring at me, my family, other diners, even the waitress who'd been approaching our table. My perfect Sunday brunch had turned into a public humiliation, and there was nowhere to hide. I need to use the restroom, I mumbled, standing up so quickly I knocked over my water glass. In the bathroom, I splashed cold water on my face and tried to think. This was a disaster, but it wasn't insurmountable. People posted videos from clubs all the time. It would blow over in a few days, replaced by some other drama. But when I returned to the table, the atmosphere had changed completely. Miriam was speaking quietly to Adrian, their heads bent together in serious conversation. My mother looked confused and worried, and Sabine was furiously typing on her phone, probably trying to do damage control. "Everything okay?" I asked, sitting back down. Adrian looked at me with eyes I barely recognized, cold, distant, and completely done with pretending. "We need to go," he said simply. "Isa, finish your juice. We're leaving." "But Daddy, I haven't ordered yet," our daughter protested. "We'll get something at home," he said, standing up and pulling out his wallet. As we walked out of the restaurant, I could feel everyone watching us. The perfect family facade we'd maintained for years was cracking, and I had no idea how to fix it. In the car, Isa chatted about wanting pancakes, while Adrian drove in stony silence. I stared out the window, watching our suburban neighborhood roll by, and wondered how everything had gone so wrong so fast. My phone kept buzzing with notifications, each one another nail in the coffin of my reputation. By the time we pulled into our driveway, the video had been shared dozens of times, and the comments were getting nastier by the hour. Monday morning at Clearwater Call Center felt like walking into a minefield. I'd barely made it to my supervisor desk when I noticed the clusters of employees huddled around phones, their voices dropping to whispers when they saw me approaching. "Morning, everyone," I said with forced brightness, setting down my coffee and powering up my computer. "Hope you all had a great weekend." The responses were muted, a few mumbled "mornings" and some awkward smiles. Sarah Martinez, one of my best customer service reps, couldn't even make eye contact. I tried to focus on the Monday morning reports, but I could feel the weight of stares and whispered conversations. Every time someone's phone pinged, I wondered if it was another share of that damned video. By 10 a.m., I couldn't take it anymore. "Sarah," I called over to her cubicle, "can you come to my office for a minute?" She followed me reluctantly, her usual cheerful demeanor replaced by obvious discomfort. "Is everything okay?" I asked once we were behind closed doors. "You seem off today." Sarah shifted in her chair, not meeting my eyes. "It's nothing, really. Just Monday morning blues." "Come on, we've worked together for 3 years. I know when something's bothering you." She sighed deeply. "Look, Kalantha, I don't want to get involved in personal stuff, but people are talking." My stomach clenched. "Talking about what?" "There's this video going around. From Saturday night. At some club." She finally looked at me directly. "It's you, isn't it?" I felt my carefully constructed professional facade starting to crumble. "Sarah, whatever you think you saw." "I'm not judging you," she said quickly. "But people are sharing it in the group chat, and some of the comments are pretty harsh. I just thought you should know." After Sarah left, I immediately opened the employee group chat on my phone. What I saw made my blood run cold. The video had made its way into our workplace social media, and my coworkers were dissecting my personal life like it was their favorite TV drama. "Did you guys see this? Our supervisor getting freaky at Pulse. Isn't she married? I've seen her husband at company picnics. Girl's got moves, though, I'll give her that. This is why I don't add work people on social media. Too much drama. Someone should probably tell her husband if he doesn't know already." I scrolled through dozens of comments, each one making me feel smaller and more exposed. These were people I supervised, people who were supposed to respect me as their manager. I started typing a response, then deleted it. Started again, deleted again. What could I possibly say that wouldn't make things worse? Finally, I posted, "I'd appreciate it if people could focus on work-related topics in this chat. Personal attacks and gossip have no place in a professional environment." The response was immediate and brutal. "Personal attacks? You put yourself out there, boss lady." "Maybe keep your personal life personal, then." Can't handle the heat, stay out of the kitchen. I was deleting comments as fast as they appeared, but more kept coming. My authority as a supervisor was evaporating in real time, replaced by mockery and judgment from people who used to respect me. My desk phone rang, startling me out of my social media spiral. "Kalantha, it's Mom." Judith's voice was strained and worried. "Honey, I need to ask you about something." "What is it?" I tried to keep my voice steady. "I saw a video online. Someone from your father's golf club sent it to him, asking if it was you." She paused, and I could hear her struggling with the words. "Kalantha, what happened Saturday night?" The disappointment in my mother's voice was worse than any angry comment from strangers. This was the woman who'd raised me, who'd taught me right from wrong, who'd been so proud when I got promoted to supervisor. "Mum, it's not what it looks like. It was just dancing. People are making it into something it wasn't." "But honey, you're married. And that man, he's not Adrian." "I know that." The words came out sharper than I intended. "I'm allowed to dance with friends, Mom. I'm not dead just because I have a ring on my finger." "Of course you're allowed to dance, but the way you were, the way he was touching you." She trailed off, and I could picture her sitting in her kitchen, probably with a cup of tea getting cold as she tried to understand how her daughter had become the subject of neighborhood gossip. "It was innocent, Mom. I swear to you, nothing happened." But even as I said it, I could hear how hollow the words sounded, because something had happened, hadn't it? Maybe not physically, but emotionally, mentally. I'd crossed lines I'd been pretending didn't exist. After hanging up with my mother, I tried to throw myself into work, but concentration was impossible. Every email notification made me jump, wondering if it was another humiliating message. Every conversation in the office felt like it was about me. At lunch, I hid in my office and stress-ate a sandwich while scrolling through Facebook. The video had spread beyond Instagram now, shared in local community groups and neighborhood pages. People who didn't even know me were weighing in on my marriage, my character, my fitness as a mother. Then I saw the comment that made my heart stop. "Isn't this the woman whose daughter goes to Riverside Elementary? Poor kid. Must be embarrassing having your mum's business all over social media." Issa. Oh God, they were talking about Issa. I called the school immediately, my hands shaking as I dialed. "Riverside Elementary, this is Janet." "Hi, this is Kalantha Vireo, Issa Price's mum. I was wondering has there been any issues with Issa today?" A pause. "Actually, Mrs. Price, Mrs. Henderson was hoping to speak with you or your husband. Could you come in this afternoon?" Mrs. Henderson was Issa's teacher, a kind woman in her 50s who'd always been supportive of our family. If she wanted to see us, it couldn't be good. "What's this about?" I asked, though I already knew. "It's better discussed in person. Could you be here around 3? I agreed and hung up, feeling sick. My 7-year-old daughter was being affected by my choices, and that was a line I'd never wanted to cross. The rest of the workday crawled by. I could feel my employees' eyes on me, could hear the whispered conversations that stopped when I walked by. My authority was shot, my reputation in ruins, and now my daughter was paying the price. At 2:45, I left work early, claiming a family emergency. Which wasn't really a lie. My family was definitely in crisis mode. Driving to Issa's school, I tried to prepare myself for whatever Mrs. Henderson was going to tell me. But nothing could have prepared me for the sight of my daughter sitting in the principal's office, her eyes red from crying, looking smaller and more vulnerable than I'd ever seen her. "Mommy," she said when she saw me, and the relief in her voice broke my heart. Mrs. Henderson appeared beside me, her expression carefully neutral. "Mrs. Price, thank you for coming. We need to talk about what happened at recess today." As she explained how some older kids had been teasing Issa about her mom's dance video, how they'd made her cry and run to the bathroom, I felt the full weight of my actions crashing down on me. This wasn't just about me anymore. This wasn't just about my marriage or my reputation. I'd dragged my innocent daughter into this mess, and she was the one paying the price for my moment of selfish fun. Walking out of the school with Issa's small hand in mine, I realized that Saturday night had cost me more than I'd ever imagined. My job, my reputation, my family's peace, all of it was crumbling because I'd convinced myself that a little harmless flirting was no big deal. But the worst part was still ahead of me. I had to go home and face Adrienne, and something told me that conversation was going to change everything. The house felt different when we got home, charged with an energy that made my skin prickle. Adrian's car was in the driveway, which was unusual for a Monday afternoon. His engineering firm kept strict hours, and he rarely left work early. "Daddy!" Issa ran ahead, her school troubles momentarily forgotten in the excitement of seeing her father home. I followed more slowly, dreading the conversation I knew was coming. Through the front window, I could see Adrian in the living room, but he wasn't alone. Miriam sat across from him, and they both had serious expressions that made my stomach drop. "Hey," I said, stepping into the room with forced casualness. "This is a surprise. What's everyone doing here?" Adrian looked up at me, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Complete emotional detachment. It was like looking at a stranger wearing my husband's face. "Issa, why don't you go upstairs and start your homework?" he said gently. "Grandma Miriam brought you something." Miriam handed our daughter a small wrapped package. "It's just a little book I thought you might like, sweetheart." As Issa bounded upstairs with her gift, the three of us stood in uncomfortable silence. Finally, Miriam spoke. "Kalantha, we need to discuss what happened this weekend." "What's to discuss?" I tried to inject some defiance into my voice. "I went out with friends, had some fun, and now everyone's acting like I committed murder." "You humiliated my son," Miriam said quietly. "You humiliated yourself, and you've dragged Issa into this mess." "I didn't drag anyone into anything. People are making a big deal out of nothing. It was just dancing." Adrian finally spoke. "I've seen the video, Kalantha, multiple times, from different angles." My heart stopped. Different angles? Turns out lots of people were filming that night. Some posted to Instagram, some to TikTok, some just kept them private until now. His voice was eerily calm. "Would you like to see them all?" He pulled out his phone and started swiping through videos. Each one showed the same scene from a different perspective, me and Jessie dancing, laughing, touching in ways that looked increasingly inappropriate when viewed from the outside. "This one's my favorite," Adrian said, his tone conversational. "You can really see the moment you whispered in his ear." "What did you tell him, Kalantha?" I felt trapped, cornered by evidence I couldn't deny or explain away. "It was nothing, just... I don't remember. Something about the music." "The music?" He repeated it like he was testing how the lie sounded. "And this part, where his hands are on your hips and you're pressed against him during a slow song, that was about the music too?" "Adrian, please." "No." His voice cut through my plea like a blade. "I'm done with the lies. I'm done with the gaslighting. I'm done pretending this is normal behavior for a married woman." Miriam leaned forward in her chair. "Kalantha, I've known you for 8 years. I watched you marry my son, watched you become a mother to my granddaughter. I never wanted to believe you were capable of this kind of betrayal." "Betrayal?" I felt my anger flaring. "I didn't betray anyone. I went out and had fun. I'm sorry if that threatens your precious son's ego, but I refuse to apologize for living my life." "Living your life?" Adrian stood up slowly, his 6-foot frame towering over me. "Is that what you call throwing yourself at another man in front of half the town?" "I wasn't throwing myself at anyone." "Then explain the text messages." The room went dead silent. "What text messages?" Adrian pulled out his phone again and started reading. "Saturday night, 11:47 p.m. To Jessie. Thanks for the dance. You made me feel alive again." Sunday morning, 8:23 a.m. To Jessie. Hope Tasha isn't too mad. Sometimes people don't understand chemistry. Sunday afternoon, 2:15 p.m., to Jessie. Can we talk? I think we need to clear the air. Each message hit me like a physical blow. I'd forgotten about those texts, sent in moments of wine-fueled boldness and morning after panic. How did you... I started to ask, then stopped. It didn't matter how he'd gotten them. What mattered was that he had them, and they made everything look so much worse than it was. Jessie forwarded them to Tasha, Miriam explained. Tasha forwarded them to several people, including me. She wanted everyone to see what kind of person was pursuing her boyfriend. I wasn't pursuing him. But even as I said it, I could hear how desperate I sounded. Those messages were taken out of context. I was just being friendly. Friendly. Adrian's laugh was bitter and cold. The way you've been friendly with our personal trainer for months. The way you've been friendly with half the men in our social circle. That's not fair. What's not fair is having to hear about my wife's behavior from my mother. What's not fair is having my daughter come home crying because kids at school are talking about her mother's dance videos. What's not fair is being married to someone who thinks she can do whatever she wants without consequences. I looked between Adrian and Miriam, seeing the united front they presented. This wasn't just a marital spat. This was an intervention, a confrontation I wasn't prepared for. What do you want from me? I asked finally. An apology. Fine. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I went out. I'm sorry I danced with Jessie. I'm sorry the whole thing got blown out of proportion. That's not an apology, Miriam said. That's you being sorry you got caught. I didn't get caught because there was nothing to catch. Adrian walked over to his desk and pulled out a manila folder. I've been to see a lawyer, Kalantha. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. A lawyer? For what? To understand my options, to protect Issa, to protect myself. Protect yourself from what? I'm your wife, not your enemy. Are you? He looked at me with those cold, stranger's eyes. Because the woman I married wouldn't have done this. The woman I married wouldn't have humiliated our family for the sake of some attention from another man. I didn't do this for attention. Then why did you do it? His voice rose for the first time, and I could hear 8 years of frustration and hurt pouring out. Why did you text him? Why did you dance with him like that? Why did you lie to me about it? I opened my mouth to answer, but no words came, because the truth was too ugly to admit, that I'd been bored, that I'd wanted to feel desired, that for a few hours I'd wanted to be someone other than Adrian's wife and Issa's mother. I want you to stay somewhere else tonight, Adrian said quietly. I need time to think, and I can't do that with you here. You're kicking me out of my own house. I'm asking you to give us some space. There's a difference. Miriam stood up, gathering her purse. I think that's wise. This situation needs to cool down before anyone makes permanent decisions. As she headed for the door, she paused next to me. Kalantha, I hope you'll use this time to really think about what you want. Because if you want to save your marriage, you're going to have to do a lot better than claiming this was all innocent fun. After she left, Adrian and I stood in our living room, the room where we'd celebrated birthdays and anniversaries, where we'd watched Issa take her first steps, where we'd built a life together, and I realized that life was crumbling around us. Where am I supposed to go? I asked. Sabine's, your mother's, a hotel, I don't care. He was already walking toward the stairs. I'll pack you a bag. As I listened to him moving around our bedroom, pulling clothes from drawers and hangers, I felt the full weight of what was happening. This wasn't just about Saturday night anymore. This was about the end of everything I'd built, everything I'd taken for granted. And the worst part was, I still wasn't sure I'd done anything wrong enough to deserve this. Sabine's guest bedroom felt like a prison cell, despite her attempts to make it welcoming with fresh flowers and expensive candles. I'd been there for 3 days, and the walls were closing in on me, more with each passing hour. You can stay as long as you need, she'd said, when I showed up with my hastily packed suitcase. Adrian's being completely unreasonable. You'll work this out. But now, sitting on her pristine white couch while she paced around her downtown loft, I could see doubt creeping into her eyes. "The video's everywhere, Kalantha," she said, scrolling through her phone. "It's in the neighborhood Facebook group, the school parent chat, even the local news blog picked it up." "The news?" My stomach dropped. "What are they saying?" "Nothing specific, just a piece about social media and privacy, but they used your video as an example." She set down her phone and looked at me seriously. "This is bigger than we thought it would be." I'd been trying to reach Jesse for 2 days, hoping he could help me make sense of everything, maybe even make a statement that we were just friends. But his phone went straight to voicemail, and he hadn't responded to any of my texts. "I need to go to the gym," I said suddenly. "I need to talk to Jesse face to face." Sabine frowned. "Is that a good idea? I mean, he's kind of the center of all this drama." "He's the only one who was actually there, who knows nothing inappropriate happened. If he backs me up, tells people we're just friends, maybe this whole thing will blow over." An hour later, I was walking into Elite Fitness, trying to project confidence I didn't feel. The usual crowd was there. Soccer moms on treadmills, businessmen lifting weights, college students taking selfies by the mirrors. But the moment I walked in, conversation stopped. People stared, some openly, some trying to be subtle about it. I felt like I was wearing a scarlet letter. Jesse was with a client in the free weights section, spotting a middle-aged man through bench presses. He looked up when he saw me approaching, and I caught a flash of something. Panic. Annoyance. Before his professional mask slipped back into place. "Hey," I said when his client finished the set. "Can we talk for a minute?" "I'm with a client right now," he said without meeting my eyes. "Maybe later." "It's important, Jesse, please." The client, sensing tension, mumbled something about getting water and walked away. Jesse finally looked at me directly, and what I saw there wasn't the warm friendliness I'd expected. "Kalantha, you can't be here," he said quietly. "Tasha's already upset enough. If she finds out you came looking for me—" "I'm not looking for you like that," I interrupted. "I just need you to tell people the truth. That we're friends. That nothing happened Saturday night." "Nothing happened?" He glanced around nervously. "Have you seen the videos? Because everyone else has. We were dancing, that's all." "We were doing more than dancing, and you know it." His voice was barely above a whisper. "Look, I'm sorry this blew up the way it did, but I can't get in the middle of your marriage problems." "Marriage problems?" I felt my voice rising. "You're the reason I have marriage problems." Several people turned to stare, and Jesse's face flushed red. "Keep your voice down. And no, I'm not the reason for anything. You made your own choices." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you were the one who was married. You were the one who initiated everything. You were the one texting me afterward." He stepped closer, his voice harsh. "I was just having fun at a club. You were the one who made it into something else." His words hit me like a slap. "I didn't make it into anything." "Really? Because the way I remember it, you were pretty clear about what you wanted. And it wasn't just dancing." I stared at him, seeing him clearly for the first time. The charm, the flirtation, the attention I'd been craving. It had all been a game to him. And now that the game had consequences, he was running away as fast as he could. "So you're just going to let everyone think I'm some desperate housewife who threw herself at you?" "I'm going to stay out of it completely, which is what you should do too." He turned away. "This conversation is over." I stood there for a moment, watching him walk back to his client, acting like nothing had happened. Around me, gym members were pretending to exercise, while obviously listening to every word. My phone buzzed with a text from Sabine. "Mum called. She wants to talk to you. Says it's important." I drove to my childhood home in a daze, Jesse's words echoing in my head. By the time I pulled into my parents' driveway, I was shaking with anger and humiliation. My mother met me at the door, her face grave. "Honey, come sit down. We need to talk." In the familiar comfort of my parents' living room, surrounded by family photos and the floral couch I'd grown up on, I finally broke down. "Mom, I don't know how this got so out of control," I sobbed. "It was just one night, just some harmless fun." Judith sat beside me, rubbing my back the way she had when I was a child. But when she spoke, her voice was different, disappointed and sad. "Kalantha, I got a call from Miriam today. She showed me things, text messages, more videos. Honey, this doesn't look harmless." I pulled back to look at her. "You're taking Miriam's side?" "I'm not taking anyone's side. I'm trying to understand how my daughter ended up in this situation." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "But sweetie, you're married. You have a little girl. Even if nothing physical happened, you crossed lines that shouldn't be crossed. So everyone's against me now, even you." "No one's against you. We're trying to help you see that this isn't just about one night of dancing. This is about choices and consequences and taking responsibility for your actions." My phone rang, Sabine calling. I answered, desperate for someone who was still on my side. "Kalantha?" Her voice sounded strange, strained. "I need to tell you something." "What is it?" "Miriam called me. She had screenshots of our text conversations, the ones where you were complaining about Adrian, talking about feeling trapped in your marriage." My blood went cold. "What about them?" "She's using them as evidence that this wasn't just a one-time mistake, that you've been unhappy for a while, looking for a way out." "You didn't tell her anything else, did you?" But even as I asked, I could hear the guilt in her silence. "Sabine, what did you tell her?" "She asked about other times, other men you'd mentioned being attracted to. She said it was important for custody considerations, for Issa's sake." Her voice broke. "I'm sorry, Kalantha. I thought I was helping, but I think I made things worse." I hung up and sat in my parents' living room, feeling more alone than I'd ever felt in my life. My husband had turned against me, my co-workers were gossiping about me, Jessie had abandoned me, and now even my sister, my biggest supporter, had betrayed me. "Mom," I whispered, "what am I going to do?" But before she could answer, my phone buzzed with a text from Adrian. "My lawyer wants to meet with you tomorrow at 2 p.m, downtown office. Come alone." I stared at the message, and for the first time since Saturday night, I realized this wasn't going to blow over. This wasn't going to be resolved with apologies and explanations. This was the beginning of the end of my marriage, and I had no one left to blame but myself. The law office of Henderson and Associates occupied the 15th floor of downtown's tallest building, all glass and steel and intimidation. I sat in the waiting area, my hands trembling as I clutched my purse, wondering if I should have brought my own lawyer. But what would I tell a lawyer? That I'd been caught dancing inappropriately with another man. That my husband had evidence of text messages I barely remembered sending. That my entire life was falling apart because of one night of poor judgment. "Mrs. Price," a receptionist called my name. "They're ready for you in conference room A." I followed her down a hallway lined with law books and professional photographs, my heels clicking on the marble floor like a countdown to execution. The conference room was intimidating. A long mahogany table surrounded by leather chairs with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Adrian sat at one end of the table with a man in his 50s who could only be his lawyer. Across from them sat Miriam, a folder thick with papers in front of her. "Kalantha," Adrian said as I entered. His voice was polite but distant, like I was a business associate rather than his wife of 8 years. "Thank you for coming. This is my attorney, David Henderson," he continued, gesturing to the older man. "I think you know my mother." In the lawyer's conference room, I faced Adrian, his attorney Henderson, and his mother, Miriam. Henderson opened a laptop. "We have 17 videos from the club, plus all your texts and posts complaining about the marriage." He played the clearest clips, me dancing too close to Jessie, laughing in his arms, then read my messages aloud. "Adrian doesn't understand me anymore. Jessie makes me feel alive." He slid 2 options across the table. contest the divorce. Everything becomes public record. Adrian gets primary custody, the house, alimony, or sign the uncontested agreement, fair assets split, standard visitation, every other weekend plus one evening a week, and we keep it private. I begged for counseling. Adrian's voice was quiet but final. I suggested counseling 2 years ago. You said I was overreacting. The trust is gone, Kalantha. It's over. With no real choice, I signed. 60 days until the divorce was final. I asked to see Issa. Tomorrow, Adrian said. At your sister's. Miriam's parting words followed me out. I hope you find what you were looking for, but not with my son. In the parking garage, the truth settled in. I hadn't lost my marriage in one drunken night. I'd lost it over months of taking Adrian for granted, chasing fleeting validation, and believing my happiness mattered more than everyone else's. I'd expected drama, tears, a fight to win me back. Instead, he'd calmly, thoroughly ended it. And Jesse, the man I'd risked everything for, hadn't even texted. I'd gambled my family for attention, and I'd lost everything that actually mattered.